Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing Episode 46, Attack of the Prehistoric Pokemon. The episode begins with Ash and the gang not stumbling across a forest as usual, but stumbling across a canyon known as Grandpa's Canyon, where they spot a whole bunch of people with shovels and other excavating tools walking. Ash initially didn't spot all the excavating tools, likely being too distracted by the fact that he actually is seeing living people again, after likely being on the road for fucking hours at this point. But he then is reaffirmed that there is in fact people with pickaxes here, as he sees Gary come up in a fucking Indiana Jones-esque outfit or some shit. It's a shame that we really didn't get to see him in this outfit more. But Ash is obviously in dismay to see Gary. I mean, he hates him more than anything. But then Gary just explains that he's here to mine some fossils, because there was apparently really rare fossils to be found here that were supposedly extremely ancient, and Gary, obviously wanting more fame and more bitches than the ones he currently has, wanted to find the fossils so that he could get that. He notes that everyone else here also wanted to find the fossils, though, so he had to hurry the fuck up and try and find them before anyone else. So he only manages to get off one insult at Ash before moving on, simply calling him a loser. Now, this pisses Ash off, despite the basic-ass insult, and he's so pissed off that he declares that he's going to try and dig up the fossils before Gary can, so that he can prove himself and embarrass Gary in the process. Brock and Misty are against this idea, as they likely just want to continue onto their journey and not make yet another fucking pit stop, but they're eventually convinced by Ash to make their way inside. Even with Brock's argument that you shouldn't be digging up fossils that were there for a long period of time. But this comment doesn't really make sense, as I mean, he's a breeder. He should care about the history of Pokemon, I would think, right? Meanwhile, Jigglypuff is spying on Ash and the gang, still wanting to sing to them, but then he sees them head off inside the cave, and it pisses him off. All he wants to do is fucking sing, man. Meanwhile, inside the cave, everyone was already hard at work digging for fossils, including Gary, who manages to find the first one. The fucking lucky bastard. It turns out he's not very lucky, though, even after he gets a full-on cheer from his squad of fangirls, as the inspector reveals that it's actually Pokemon shit that has materialized into a rock after all this time, which absolutely disgusts his cheerleading squad. Ash and the gang then arrive to see everyone already digging, and Brock declares that if they were going to do this, then they should hurry up and just get the fuck down there. But Ash and the gang then get distracted as they spot Meowth on a nearby cliff, who's talking to Jesse and James. Ash and the gang finally pull a Team Rocket and decide to eavesdrop on their conversation, where Team Rocket reveals their plan, which was to use a stick of dynamite to blow up the cave, which would uncover all the hidden fossils underneath, leaving Team Rocket free to dig them up. Ash then realizes that it wouldn't be the only thing that would be available to dig up. There would be human bones as well, because if a bomb went off while all the diggers were in the cave, everyone would fucking die. So this leads Ash to run off and confront Team Rocket on their cliff, as Ash instructs Brock and Misty to go down and warn everyone in the cave that, hey, you're probably gonna fucking die if we don't do anything here. By the time Ash arrives, Meowth had already lit the fuse to the bomb, and it was trickling its way downwards toward the dynamite. So Ash quickly sends out his Squirtle as fast as he can, and has him use Water Gun as they run after the fuse, with the goal of having Squirtle's Water Gun extinguish the fuse. However, Team Rocket then intercepts while Ash and Pikachu and Squirtle are running, and send out Arbok and Weezing to help them chase after them. The last thing Ash and Squirtle needed was another thing to slow them down, though, as while they were running, Squirtle couldn't focus enough to actually hit the fuse, but he couldn't take proper aim, so he just kept missing and missing and missing and missing. But hey, at least Team Rocket wasn't really gaining any headway either. Like Arbok and Weezing didn't even do anything. They weren't attacking or nothing. They were just running after Ash and Pikachu and Squirtle. And to make matters worse for Team Rocket, James then trips on a goddamn rock due to their overabundance while he's running, which sends him tumbling down the walkway that they were running on, which results in Team Rocket, along with Arbok and Weezing, falling down in a chain reaction, and they all get rolled up into a ball as they roll down at top speed towards Ash and Pikachu, who panic and eventually get caught in the rolling ball as well. The rolling ball then hits a dead end in the cave as it comes untangled, and everyone lays there in utter exhaustion, but it's revealed that Ash and Team Rocket had landed right next to where Meowth had planted the dynamite, and the fuse was rapidly approaching. It was right there. This causes Pikachu to panic, and he somehow overcomes his immense exhaustion and gets up and uses a huge Thunderbolt, which was obviously a stupid move. I mean, the Thunderbolt was obviously just going to cause the dynamite to explode, but due to Pikachu's panic, he couldn't think, and he just really wanted to help, and that's the only thing he could think of. Okay, I can't really shit on Pikachu for it, but this does cause the dynamite to explode, which causes a rift to open up beneath Ash and Team Rocket, and they fall through with all of their Pokemon down into an even deeper cave, as rocks then fall as another result from the blast, and these rocks proceed to block off the exit to the rift, trapping Ash and Team Rocket inside the cave. Squirtle was small enough to crawl through these rocks as they fell, though, so Squirtle is fortunately able to escape as he meets up with Brock, Misty, and everyone else from the cave, who had thankfully escaped before the bomb went off, as Brock and Misty had warned them in time. Misty, Brock, and Squirtle then work together to dig through all of the rocks in an attempt to open up the rift in the ground so that Ash and Team Rocket can successfully escape. Meanwhile, Jigglypuff tries to sing and is still pissed off that he's being ignored. But what do you expect, Jigglypuff? They're busy trying to dig their friends out. They're not going to listen to you. Meanwhile, Ash and Team Rocket are laying unconscious in the cave that they planted in, but eventually come to and start arguing immediately, blaming each other for falling into the cave. But why? It's obviously James's fault. He was the one who tripped on the rock that caused the ball. Meowth then demands that they stop arguing and look for a way out and actually be productive instead, but they can't seem to find a way out. Instead, all they're able to find is numerous glowing eyes staring at them from the back of the cave, which causes them to all get super scared and stressed out. But then, the glowing eyes reveal themselves as prehistoric Pokemon. Ash checks them on his Pokedex, and it's revealed that they're Omanyte, Omastar, Kabuto, and Kabutops, ancient Pokemon that have been lost for thousands of years at this point. Realizing that the bomb must have been what finally woke these ancient Pokemon, Team Rocket celebrate at their genius. Their bomb had actually resulted in something good. They then plan to steal these ancient Pokemon and bring them to Giovanni, knowing that that would definitely get them that fucking promotion they wanted, and they proceed to try and catch them by throwing Pokeballs, but Kabuto deflects the absolute fuck out of them with its pincers, sending them flying back at Team Rocket. Team Rocket's attempts to capture the fossil Pokemon have made them extremely irritated, obviously. I mean, I'd be pissed off if I was with Team Rocket as well. And they proceed to try and attack Ash and Team Rocket, leading Ash to try and defend himself by sending out Charmeleon, who obviously still disobeys him. Like, why would you send out Charmeleon, man? Like, all of these fossil Pokemon are rock types. Send out, I guess you can't send out Squirtle, but you can send out Bulbasaur. Anyways, Ash is obviously pissed off at Charmander's disobedience, and the fossil Pokemon proceed to chase after Ash and Team Rocket after Ash refuses to send out any of his other Pokemon to battle, not having the time, since the fossil Pokemon were approaching too fast. The fossil Pokemon eventually catch up to Team Rocket and run them over on their way to Ash, sending them flying into the ground. And then, when they approach Ash, Charmeleon still refuses to help, so Ash is left to simply try and run away as the Kabutops strikes him. Meanwhile, back above the cave, Officer Jenny had arrived at this point, being informed of the situation. She explains that the cave was too deep to be accessed by bulldozers, so there wasn't really much that she could do to call in some extra backup, but she would try her best. Oh yeah, you're gonna try your best. Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? If you can't use bulldozers, what other supplies do you have? A desperate Brock, knowing they didn't have time to wait for Officer Jenny to come up with some random solution, decides to send out his Geodude to do some digging for him and assist. Geodude agrees to do this, and Brock and Misty continue to dig. Meanwhile, back underground in the cave, Team Rocket had recovered from being pummeled down onto the ground, but they were still getting beat up by the Omastar, who were attacking their Arbok and Weezing, utilizing their tentacles to confuse Arbok. Meowth watched on in shame, knowing how useless Weezing and Arbok were, as Team Rocket cheered them on to no avail. As for Ash, he was currently cornered by the Kabutops, as Charmeleon still wouldn't help, so he decided to send out his Pikachu, but Pikachu couldn't do anything either, as his electric attacks had no effect due to Kabutops being ground types. This causes Pikachu to run into Ash's arms in fear as Ash looks at the Kabutops as they get ready to absolutely kill his ass, but then out of nowhere, in a Deus Ex Machina moment, the fossil Pokemon then run off and retreat into the cave, seemingly for no reason. Ash questions how they keep running into these Deus Ex Machina moments as Team Rocket just celebrate, but they then realize that they have no reason to celebrate as an Aerodactyl then shows up, being the reason why the other fossil Pokemon left, scaring them. As soon as Aerodactyl flies in, it hits Charmeleon, knocking it down. Ash then analyzes the Aerodactyl on his Pokedex, confirming that Aerodactyl was in fact another ancient prehistoric Pokemon that had been lost for centuries at this point. Aerodactyl then gets very angry and tries to attack Team Rocket and Ash and Pikachu, but then Charmeleon gets up and tries to battle it, not because he wants to protect Ash or anything, but just for his own pride, as he was pissed off at the Aerodactyl for knocking it down. However, the Aerodactyl is way too strong and absolutely beats Charmeleon's ass, and then proceeds to kidnap Ash and fly up. It intended to eat Ash for a very nice meal, as it was hungry after being fucking locked away in a cave for thousands of years. When Team Rocket sees Aerodactyl fly up, they immediately run to the back of the cave, but they really had no reason to, as the Aerodactyl not only flies up to the top of the cave, but it flies up out of the cave, as Brock and Misty had now successfully managed to dig away all of the rocks, leaving the rift open. This meant that Aerodactyl could fly through, which it has. As it flies up the sky, Aerodactyl drops Charmeleon and Pikachu onto the ground, where Brock, Misty, Nurse Joy, and all of the other people from the cave had gathered, along with Officer Jenny and extra backup of an excavation crew. So I guess she did come through after all, but you're kind of too late now, bitch. This revealed that before Aerodactyl had escaped the cave, Pikachu and Charmeleon had grabbed on, freeing them from the cave as well. Anyways, Aerodactyl then took Ash to the top of a mountain as the perfect plate to put him on so he could enjoy his meal. He places Ash on the mountain and gets ready to chow down, but then Charmeleon shows up, having walked up the mountain in pure determination to have his revenge against Aerodactyl for making a fool of him. Aerodactyl then taunts the Charmeleon, being like, "Oh, you small bitch, I knocked you down easily the first time. Do you really think you can beat me now?" When suddenly, Charmeleon becomes so angry at this taunt that he literally gets fired up and evolves into Charizard. That's right, we only had Charmeleon for fucking 3 or 4 episodes at this point, and now he's already evolved into his final form. Ash then panics as Aerodactyl flies off, not wanting to have to deal with Charizard, but Charizard proceeds to chase after it as fast as it can. Charizard proceeds to almost catch up to Aerodactyl as Ash smiles at it in happiness, believing that Charizard was finally obeying it and wanted to save Ash. However, Charizard then fires his flamethrower at the Aerodactyl and burns Ash in the process, not caring whatsoever, indicating that he still didn't care about Ash at all and just wanted to fucking end this Aerodactyl's existence. Jigglypuff appears once again, and this time Misty finally spots it, and she gets an idea. This idea involves asking Jigglypuff to sing, which would put Aerodactyl to sleep, and therefore he would drop Ash, which could kill him to be fair, but hey, at least Aerodactyl would be stopped. The Jigglypuff, however, doesn't want to sing for Misty, or at least it tries to act like it, being mad that Misty had ignored it for so long. but it eventually can't withstand its own excitement to want to sing, and agrees. As it sings, putting everyone to sleep after being set up on a soundstage by Brock and Misty and being given an extra loud microphone so that its singing would echo extra loud. But as we established, Jigglypuff has like these immense vocal cords that go really far anyways, so I don't think that extra speaker was necessary. Everyone does fall asleep though. Brock and Misty fall asleep, Pikachu and Squirtle fall asleep, all of the people who were there to dig fall asleep, including Gary, the excavation crew even falls asleep, and yes, of course, Ash and Aerodactyl fall asleep, causing Aerodactyl to drop Ash, just like I warned. Misty really didn't think this through, and there's even no excuse this time. She really just didn't think about this. But thankfully, Charizard was thinking, as Charizard was the only one who hadn't fallen asleep due to plugging its ears, so this allowed Charizard to save Ash before he fell to the ground. Charizard didn't save Ash, though, because he was suddenly obedient, or suddenly respected him, though. No, he just saved Ash because he wanted to take away the Aerodactyl's food as revenge. Anyways, the asleep Aerodactyl then falls back into the open hole to the cave, but when it falls down, it causes an earthquake due to Aerodactyl's immense weight, and all the rocks come flying down and close off the cave entrance yet again, thereby getting rid of all the work that Brock and Geodude did to remove all the rocks. As for Charizard, it had landed successfully with Ash, but due to no longer covering its ears, it fell asleep as soon as it landed, along with everybody else. Once Jigglypuff sees that everyone had fallen asleep to its song yet again, it gets pissed the fuck off and uses its pen once more to draw on everyone's faces. Just then, while Ash is sleeping, he rolls off of Charizard and lands on a mysterious egg. Interesting. Later, eventually everyone wakes up, and Officer Jenny begins to talk to everyone, holding a meeting. She essentially explains that the thing that happened was just a dream that was caused by Jigglypuff's song, which Ash knows isn't true. Like, obviously that's just fucking propaganda, right? Nurse Joy just wanted to spread some propaganda because she knew that the public had since discovered these ancient Pokemon, and the ancient Pokemon weren't meant to be discovered at all, so now she wanted to keep them under wraps and try and convince everyone that it was just a dream. She then further explains that there's no reason to stay in the cave anyway, as if you did any more digging, the entire place would just absolutely fucking collapse after all the trauma it's endured today. And this is actually right. I'm sure that if they touched the ground a little bit more, everything would just fucking explode. Ash and the gang then leave the area and continue on their journey, but they stop in the middle of the road when Ash remembers how he encountered that mysterious egg when he rolled off of Charizard, having grabbed it and put it in his backpack when he woke up. Ash and the gang then argue over who should get to keep the egg, with Brock justifying that he should be the one to have it since he was a Pokemon breeder and he knows how to raise Pokemon best, explaining that it was a Pokemon egg and that there was a Pokemon inside it that would hatch from it. Ash is reluctant to give Brock the egg, so Brock just decides to take it, fully believing he had the right to, and runs off, not wanting anyone to steal it from him. Ash and Misty chase him, though, as the direction that Brock was running in still takes them toward their next destination. Meanwhile, back inside the cave, Aerodactyl had landed in it and was currently still sleeping, along with all of the other fossil Pokemon who were seemingly affected by Jigglypuff's singing. Team Rocket had woken up, though, and were now terrified of all the sleeping Pokemon, attempting not to wake them up, as that would likely result in their death. However, James sneezes. I'm sure they'll be fine. They have to come back in the next episode.